Hi everyone, it's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. And today we're going deeper than I think we've ever gone before. And I was thinking about this when this topic came to mind. I was concerned that it might make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. Then I thought about what we're doing here together every Wednesday, and that is educate and illuminate your mind so that you are not in a position where fear can take over. So I decided to dive right into the dark night of the soul and take a look. It's a scary topic for a lot of people. But if we don't know what's going on or why something could happen or why it is happening, we are going to be much more vulnerable than if we are able to understand, okay, this is a process. This is what happens in this kind of process. Or whatever knowledge we need to gain. And that's the purpose of gathering here every Wednesday. It is education and illumination. I want you to understand what it is that is happening in the spiritual world that can benefit you so that you can take advantage of it and that you do not have to be paralyzed by fear that is created because you don't understand. Or you heard someone talk about it that chose to explain it from the position of be afraid. Let's just get real clear about things in the spiritual world. There is nothing in the spiritual world that doesn't come from God. There's nothing that has been created in the spiritual realm or in the physical realm that can exist without being attached to God. It is possible for you and other beings in the spiritual realm to limit your connection to God. But it is not possible for you to be able to say, I cut myself off, I'm done, I'm flying solo. Nothing and no one can be completely separated from God. So all of these forces that people may tell you, hey, you need to be afraid of this, it's really their misinterpretation, or perhaps they are deliberately lying because they want to try to control you. The next thing they may want to try to do is say, oh, well, I can go into the spiritual realm and interpret for you or do this work for you, but something may happen to you if you try to establish a personal relationship with God. That is not true, and that is a deliberate manipulation on their part. Every single person, every being in existence has a personal relationship with God. The extent to which it's developed is up to you. It can be so teeny tiny that you wouldn't even recognize it, or it can be wide open so that you feel that God is your best friend. The thing that you need to understand is that it's your choice. The only thing that is not your choice is that you were created by the divine, and you need that connection in order to survive. You cannot try to exist without some sort of connection. But since it's impossible for you to separate completely from source, from the divine, you don't really have to give that much thought because never going to happen. So if someone approaches you and says, let me establish a connection for you because you're not going to be able to and I have these special powers, excuse me, please do not fall for that. Everyone can create some type of communication with God. It does require your work, your study, your participation, your discipline. But there has been no one and never will be anything that's created that cannot access the divine in some way. Doesn't mean everybody has the same way, but it means that everyone does have a way. So let's dive into the dark night of the soul. If everything comes from God, and it does, then the dark night of the soul has to be a product of the divine as well. This is what I need you to understand. This is why I've spent so long really honing in on that connection, because everything you experience will have the divine in it. The depth of the experience is determined by you and where you choose to put your focus. If you want to look at everything that's wrong, you will find more things that are wrong to look at. If you choose to look at everything that's right, it will feel as though you're living a charmed life because all you see are things that are right. So let's begin. Dear ones, when you face a challenge that's the end product of your false belief system or a thought pattern of negativity, the unenlightened mind wants to blame the result on outside forces, preferring to see it as punishment from God, rather than the end product of their own misalignment. However, when you enter the period referred to as the dark night of the soul, it's more about cleansing the inappropriate thought and belief systems than it is about meeting the end product of your thoughts and actions. So let's see ourselves on two parallel roads. All roads lead to heaven. There's no other way to go, because the whole purpose of the physical journey is to explore different things so that we can return to the non-physical, to the place that some of us may call heaven, with all this new information, feeling really empowered, having been able to draw closer to and more complete to our Creator. So we're on two parallel roads. One of them is the dark night of the soul. Let's put that on the left. The other one is just our daily life and the consequences that we get through our thoughts and actions. So you've got this one road, the road on the right, and it's going pretty straight ahead until you start thinking negatively. Well, now it may veer off to the right or to the left, or it may go off in a crazy direction, because your thoughts have steered that road and the car you're driving on the road into what could be a hairpin turn, because you've decided you want to look at things that are negative and everything that's bad in your life. That is not a dark night of the soul. It can move into that, but dark night of the soul is your thinking is beginning to clear up. You're beginning to take responsibility. You are crying out and saying, I need help, and I need to understand how to get from where I am to where I want to be. Sometimes you may not have even set foot on the spiritual path, and you don't know anything, but you are crying out for an intervention. Then things may come to a head, crashing down on you, so that you are willing to really examine your belief systems. The other way, okay, you get some punishment, and you may not want to choose, you may choose not to change dramatically. Dark night of the soul, you are either completely wiped out and ready for a change, and you've decided, you've gone to God and said, whatever it takes, lay it on me, I can't live this way anymore. Or you've been on the spiritual path and you said, okay, I'm ready for the next level. But recognize here what I said in each case. You have given permission. You have said, I am ready. It doesn't just spring up on you. Oh my gosh, look at this. I'm being punished. No, it is not punishment. It is you agreeing because you're ready. Let us explain. Everyone who is thinking faces the consequences of those thoughts. Every thought brings with it a natural order of events that follow in their wake. The one who is asleep encounters the thought they've made physical and has no ability to recognize it as something they've made. So you're thinking, oh my gosh, I bet I'm going to get the flu. Everyone around me is getting the flu. I'm going to get the flu. Oh, poor me. I'm going to get the flu. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to miss work. Oh, it's going to be so hard to pay my bills because I'm going to miss work and they'll take money out of my paycheck because I didn't work. And oh, poor me. I'm going to get the flu. Okay? You get the flu. You ordered it. It's basically like calling a restaurant and saying, I want 5 orders of flu, please. You ordered it with your thoughts and your conversation. However, if the person is asleep, they don't understand that their thoughts become the things they're now experiencing. They see it as everything happening to them, but not through them or because of them or any of their thoughts or actions. Those who are asleep see themselves as powerless and believe themselves to be victims at the mercy of the world they inhabit. Now, before you start saying, oh my gosh, and feeling smug because you climbed out of that hole, remember, that's where we all began. Every single one of us, perhaps not this new generation that's coming in since we've made such incredible changes, but every single one of us comes in and says, okay, I'm willing to forget so that I can learn what I need to learn for my spiritual growth. So, I don't know, perhaps the yogis do, but I don't know of a person in my circle that has come in fully awakened and stayed that way. I only know of people who have done the work to wake up from the sound sleep that they had been in up until the time that they changed their mind and said, okay, I'm ready. So, those who have awakened and have begun their spiritual journey can no longer see themselves as victims. Now, let's get something really clear right here. I am not bashing victims. If you are asleep and you don't know better and you don't know that you don't have to be hurt, that you don't have to receive this hurt that the other person wants to share with you, if you don't know that you have the power to paralyze the other person and what they're doing, or to remove yourself from that situation, then you are very much a victim. You don't have any other alternative. However, I am in the process of educating everyone who has ever been a victim so that you will not be a victim the next time. I spent a lot of my life feeling like a victim. It is a really crappy place to be. As soon as I found out that I had a choice, that I could choose not to experience the pain of being a victim, I began a long, slow recovery and stepped into my power. And that's what I want to help all of you do as well. So if you're awake, you no longer see yourself as a victim. You recognize that it's your thoughts, beliefs, and actions which have led you to this precipice. You know that you're merely receiving the end product of your energetic creation, and that no one and nothing has the power to hurt you unless you believe that that's possible. Now, as long as you believe it, it will be possible. So yes, you were getting hurt. Yes, you were a victim. But I don't want you to stay a victim. Those who are awake know they receive what they put forth, so they should be making more of an effort to put good feelings, thoughts, and actions into the world. They also recognize that they're not being punished, they're simply receiving. This group, the awakened ones who have consciously placed themselves on the path of enlightenment, can and will be held accountable for their thoughts, feelings, and actions. Those who are asleep receive a nudge, a shove to move in the right direction. Those who are awake know better, and they receive the full impact of a poor decision. This brings us to the purpose of the dark night of the soul. Before we can accurately describe what it is, you must understand what it's not. It's not punishment. God doesn't punish. You are not being punished by the divine. When you decide to explore your authentic self and your connection to Source, you begin searching for truth, looking for what's correct and what's been distorted by the ego. This means that you must sort through all of your belief systems. You can't hold on to false beliefs and expect to move forward on your spiritual journey. You must let go of past trauma. You must release all outside factors that have previously defined you so that you can discover who you are. When we really begin our awakening journey, it is all about going in. What does the inside say about me? It is not about looking outside and trying to bring what you see to the inside. You have everything you need on the inside. Hold on, I lost my place. When you decide to explore your authentic self and your connection to Source, you begin searching for truth, looking for what's correct and what's been distorted by the ego. This means that you must sort through all of your belief systems. You must let go of past trauma. You must release all outside factors that have previously defined you so that you can discover who you are. During any current lifetime and picked up from previous lifetimes will be experiences and traumas, belief systems and ideologies that you may have used to define yourself. Some of these will be beneficial, but most will be false trappings that mask the authentic self. Now here we go. Here are the ways in which we try to defeat ourselves. Now, before you get angry at yourself and say things like, look what I've done, no. Look how you've grown. Look how much you have learned. When you allowed yourself to be labeled by such things as, I'm not worthy, good enough, pretty enough, intelligent enough. They're simply growth mechanisms. They're not, and they never were your truth, no matter how true it felt when you said it. They were not your truth. They were always just a growth mechanism, something to help you push forward, to push against, something to say, I'm not feeling that great because I don't feel worthy. I need to explore self-worth so that I can figure out what I need or or how to think or what to say or how to act so that I will feel worthy. Well, what you're going to find out is everything comes from the inside. You need to change the way you're thinking about yourself, talking about yourself, acting towards yourself. But at this point, you don't know that yet. You just are on the journey of exploration because you're looking at your growth mechanisms, but not your truth. A dark night of the soul comes to unveil the authentic self as it strips away the small self, the weak and powerless self. So this scary, scary term, dark night of the soul, is merely saying, you're ready. You are ready to see who you came here to be, who you really are, and you are ready to let go of those names that you are calling yourself which are not true. When you have experiences labeled dark night of the soul, you're laying bare all that you believe to be true about yourself. You're stepping outside the self that the ego identifies with, and you're looking at what serves you and what's no longer in your highest good. An example of this is the one who's become arrogant due to their success. And, we all know that person that they were just, I don't want to be insulting. They were successful, kind of a surprise success. Now, obviously, that sounds kind of mean. I don't mean it to be mean, but they were not really prepared or expecting the success to be as big as it was. So it can cause them to become arrogant because they're not prepared. The ego is busy supporting this arrogance and trying to hide all thoughts of insecurity with bluster and false confidence. But the individual always feels like they're one small step away from disaster. So here's this person that wasn't expecting it, suddenly got this huge windfall because of something they did or invented, and they're like, uh-oh, when's everybody going to find out who I really am? They live in a world of anxiety in which they fear being discovered for who they really are. The ego believes they're really small and insignificant, favored with some good fortune that's certain never to come again. They live with the what if I fail philosophy. Their authentic self knows always the truth of their being and is trying to gain that individual's attention. Now, it wasn't a fluke that this person happened to have this incredible invention. It was part of their growth that they would be unprepared for their success so that they would continue to grow. If pushed far enough by ego-driven fears, the ego's control will crack and the descent into the dark night of the soul will commence. So this is a person that may have taken to alcohol and drugs trying to quiet the voice of, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough and somebody's going to find out and then this whole thing is going to come crashing down around my ears. All of this may happen, but it's okay because the foundation was so shaky. So When you get to that place where you feel like your world is coming apart, let it. At this time, all of the fears, insecurities, and not good enoughs will come pouring out. The individual may feel overwhelmed and break down under the pressure of facing their hidden beliefs, but the dark night of the soul is designed to free each individual from the ego's grip and not destroy them. Once the crack has formed and the break is imminent, the night of your life, the part of your life lived in the darkness of the ego, begins to fade. As soon as you face it, you've been running away, trying to hide. As soon as it becomes so overwhelming that you have no choice but to face it, a crack appears in the darkness. And the part of your life lived in the darkness of the ego begins to fade. As you work through the pain caused by the false belief system, your inner light, your inner radiance begins to shine forth and leads you into the daytime of your life, where the light is shining brightly with the truth of who you really are. And that truth is one thing and one thing only. You are a powerful creator with God. The dark night period is simply the period of transformation. You can call it your caterpillar, cocoon period, during which you move from the darkness of not knowing and claiming no responsibility into the place of all knowing, where you eagerly take responsibility for your life and your actions. Rather than fear a dark period in your life, learn to welcome it. A time of overwhelming darkness is merely signaling to you that you're ready to release old behaviors and thought patterns that are not serving your highest good. When you repeatedly come to the same place over and over and over again, and you keep banging your head against the same wall, you really need to look at that wall and say, what is this wall trying to teach me? Instead of saying, oh, I'm so angry this wall is here, ask yourself, what is this wall trying to teach me? What do I need to learn so I can move beyond? Where is the door in the wall? There will always be a door. It will be the door of knowledge. But in order to find that door, you must be willing to let go of the ego that says, I know better, and say hello to your divine connection, during which you say, I don't know anything. Please lead me. Then you can get inspiration and direction that will make sure that you're in the right place at the right time. If you keep banging your head against that wall, you are going to have, number one, a really big headache, and number two, you're going to be in the wrong place to receive the inspiration when it comes pouring forth, and you will miss that opportunity. Here's something that you need to understand. Opportunities are never ending. God pours out their love upon us unceasingly. Opportunities do not come as once-in-a-lifetime things. You do not need to be afraid that you're going to miss out if you say, I'm not ready. If you spend your whole life saying, I'm not ready, I don't want to be who I came here to be. I don't want to grow and mature spiritually. Well, you would have missed out on opportunities in this lifetime, but there are many other lifetimes for you to try again. However, if you don't feel ready for something, or you're looking in the wrong direction and an opportunity passes you by, don't get upset. Don't feel like your world is over. Just adjust your focus. Just take a deep breath. Stand up tall and say, I'm ready, God. I am ready to receive divine inspiration. I'm tired of trying to figure it all out on my own. I am ready to be the co-creator that I came here to be, to take responsibility and to be aware when opportunities are being presented to me, and to be grateful for those opportunities. When you run toward the false belief and examine it for what it is, you gain perspective and knowledge. No more running away. You do not need to hide from what you believed to be your missed opportunities or your bad decision. Instead, turn around and look at it and say, hey, I see you. I see you for who you are and what you are. You are nothing but a choice that could have been better. So now that I see you, I know I'm going to make a better choice next time. I've taken away your power and restored it to myself where it belongs. You become wiser and stronger. When you run away because you fear the darkness, you allow the dark to grow and become weaker and more vulnerable. So when you run toward the false belief, you gain perspective and knowledge. You become wiser and stronger. When you run away because you fear that dark, it grows. It becomes a massive monster. And you become weak and more vulnerable. And then you can become a victim. You will be open for someone to take advantage of you because you will be believing that you are weak and vulnerable. But you are powerful. Take responsibility for where you are now. Change the habits, belief systems, and thoughts that are holding you stuck and be rewarded with a victorious self filled with the power to create miracles. Every single one of you has the power to create miracles. But you must believe this. You must practice getting in touch with your own authentic self and with your own personal power. You must develop that personal relationship with Source. This cannot be done on your own. You are a powerful creator, but you are a co-creator with the divine. So please don't try to do it on your own and then come back to me later and say, this doesn't work. You will be correct. It will not have worked, but it was never supposed to work with just you in charge and no divine help. So remember, the dark night of the soul is not about punishment. We really have to be clear on this. It is not about punishment. It's not even about receiving the energy you put forth. It's about clearing, preparing the way for successful advancement. So we're all going to receive the energy that we put forth. Absolutely, there's no way around that. As a co-creator, whether you are awake or asleep, you are a creator. But as that co-creator, as you put forth energy, you are going to receive energy that is like that, what you put out in response. However, the dark night of the soul is the clearing of all of this, because you've finally gotten to the place where you say, I've had enough. And it prepares the way for your successful advancement. Remember, we are always, awake or asleep, going to receive what we give. There is a cause and effect law in our universe. You can complain about it all you want, but you're never going to be able to change it. That will always be the natural order of things. It is universal law. So, even if you are asleep, you are going to feel the effects of what you're putting out. The difference will be that you will be unable to claim responsibility. You'll say, oh, so-and-so did this to me, and you will feel like a victim. And you wake up, you say, oh, it's what I'm thinking that has caused this, and I can fix it. I personally enjoy being awake, even though I am now responsible for what I am thinking. Because when I was asleep, bad things kept happening, and I had no way to, or believed, I had no way to stop them, and it was exceedingly painful. Now, when you're asleep, you're going to feel the end product of this less severely. So let's pretend that, I think of a good example. I'm asleep and I am really critical of other people. And I like to make fun of other people. Well, if you're awake and you do that, you're going to get a slap in the face from the universe in return. You are absolutely going to be called on that in a very unpleasant way. Someone may turn around who's much meaner than you are and say to you something quite cruel. However, if you're asleep and you don't know any better, you may believe that that's just normal way your life works. Everyone is critical of everyone else. And you may not feel the pain as deeply as you would when you are awake and know that you are responsible. So that's the benefit. It's sort of like they always say babies and drunks. A baby can fall down, and because their bones are not as solid as they are once you stop growing and become an adult, they may not even get more than a bruise. An adult could fall in the same position and the bone might break because it's rigid. It doesn't have the elasticity of the child. And also people who are drunk that are falling down drunk may actually fall down without breaking a bone because they are just allowing the body to fall in any position that it needs to without any resistance. And because it has no resistance, the body just falls in the position that's best for it. So there is safety for the person that is not awake or is still too young to be responsible. So we know that, again, this is God in action. God has put in safety measures for us so that we can do our best to move forward on our physical journeys and get to the place where we want to awaken, because we're tired of coming up against the other the defeats and the pain. But until we're able to take responsibility with a clear mind, or we're old enough to take responsibility, we bounce, but we don't break. So the awakened person knows they're powerful. There's no doubt in your mind that you are powerful. You start seeing the cause and effect between relationships, between what you're saying, what you're thinking. You know. And you begin stepping above fear. You become fearless because you recognize there is no punishment. It's merely reactionary cause and effect. The dark night of the soul, back to our favorite topic, can only happen if you have some awareness of the spiritual. Even if it feels as though this person was not interested in the spiritual in any way, shape, or form. Subconsciously, they had to have given permission or had to have explored what was going to happen on some level, or they came into this life with that knowledge. It's not all of a sudden, I hate you from the universe, and bam, now you got to go through this time. It is you crying out for something more. It will never be thrust upon you. And it doesn't have to happen. If you get ahead of it and do the work before you get to the place where you're crying out for a massive change and you're completely flowing and without resistance, there's no reason for a dark night of the soul. A dark night of the soul helps those of us who have gotten stuck in the belief that we're not enough in some way, and we are very resistant to wanting to change that, holding on for dear life to I'm not good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, I don't know, rich enough, something enough. Remember, it's not punishment. It's not because you did something wrong. If anything, you are now choosing to do something right. You are choosing to put the ego on notice that it's no longer necessary in your life. It's happening because you've asked for a deeper connection with Source. It comes at your invitation, but not as punishment. The dark night begins your disassociation with the ego. You begin being the observer instead of the actor. So let's take a look at that just a moment. When we are in our asleep state or in the beginning of our spiritual walk even, we will still be the one we think that is doing all of the acting, the work, that is living the life of the person that's in this physical journey. But as we begin to grow and gain a broader spiritual perspective, we'll begin to see that we can often step outside of that particular physical body and life and just observe. See what is happening and what it is that may need to be corrected. We can take a step back because we're just not so attached to the way things are going. This is an opportunity to release your false belief systems. Doesn't matter what life they were picked up from. It doesn't matter if they're brand new. It doesn't matter if it came from somebody that you admire more than anyone else in the world. This is not a punishment. It's merely a chance to upgrade your belief system. Every I am phrase is defining and powerful. It doesn't matter whether you say, I am the most brilliant person in all the world, or I am the stupidest person in the world. You are creating with each one of those statements. You just have to be aware that you're creating with every I am statement that you speak, and be very careful about what you are allowing to follow that. So when you say things like, I'm not worthy enough, you're really causing yourself a great deal of hurt and pain, and you don't need to. The minute you begin saying things like, I am more than enough, I am powerful, and I love and accept myself just the way I am, you have really taken a giant step forward in progress to move yourself forward. The authentic self is your soul self. That's the one you're going to be connecting with when you say I am statements that acknowledge your power. The authentic self is the you that exists eternally and cannot be hurt or diminished, but it's also the truthful you. Is the only thing the soul can do is learn and grow. It cannot be destroyed. The human self identifies with the ego. It begins saying, well, I've got arms and they're this color and they have this many fingers and all those very physical things. The ego says, this is my bank account, this is how much is in there, and that defines whether I'm good or bad. The soul says, I exist eternally, and I can only learn and grow. I can't be hurt. I can't be destroyed. I can't be eliminated. I am an eternal being. I can learn and grow. The human self, the physical body, can fall ill. It can be hurt or harmed. It can struggle with survival on many levels. But the soul never struggles. It simply is. That's why the spiritual journey is such a journey of beauty and depth. Because when we really get back in touch with the soul, that being that says, I am, we understand that everything else really has no allure. It's a container. The physical body can be a lovely, wonderful container, but it will never be you. You bring with you into every life a microcosm of the soul, that being that you are. You also bring lessons or challenges. You might bring belief systems, and you always bring enough talent or gifts that will be sufficient for your goals in this lifetime. So if you decide that in this lifetime you're going to be an astrophysicist, you are not going to have a difficult time with any of the learning required for that particular mastery. You may not be good at other things, but you will be proficient in everything that an astrophysicist needs to be proficient in. Doesn't mean you won't have to learn. You will have to learn. You will have to apply. You will have to grow. That's why you're here. But you will have brought with you talents and gifts that will help you excel in your given field. Putting it really, really bluntly, if your goal in a lifetime is to experience what it would be like to be an Olympic athlete, you will not enter the world as a paraplegic. There is no reason for you to have chosen that kind of physical limitation in this lifetime. If you were choosing instead to really go to the furthest ends of physical fitness and discover what it's like to be at the Olympic level. Now, if you chose to come as a paraplegic, it was because you wanted to explore how you would do with physical limitations on your body, not because you were being punished. And the Olympic athlete is not being rewarded because they were a paraplegic in the last lifetime. That's not the way it works. We come with specific hurdles to overcome because we're interested in finding out what they feel like. It's our choice. These are not punishment situations. Our belief systems that we brought with us can act as punishment until we overcome them. If we allow them to continue, and we do nothing to try to intervene and become more growth-oriented, you will be harmed by that belief system because you will not be growing. And you will be facing the limitations of that belief system. But when you experience the dark night of the soul, all the unresolved issues that you're ready to deal with come to the surface to be healed, so it does feel a little overwhelming. You may have times during that dark night of the soul when you say to yourself, what have I done? Who in their right mind would agree to this? Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop in the middle. Keep going. You've made a good choice. God is always fair. Life is always striving toward balance. These things that have come up that feel like they're beating you about the head have come up so that you can look them straight on and say to yourself, I see you. I see what you're made of. And I am choosing to be the powerful creator I came here to be and to let go of your false teachings. And that belief system will have no choice but to drop away. If you desire something, you have the ability to achieve it. There absolutely will never come a time when you desire something and you will be without any conceivable way to conceive it in any way, shape, or form. It may not be exactly the way that you had hoped for it to be, but it will be in the way that it is perfect for you. Or you will outgrow the desire. The desire may begin to propel you forward, just to be the accelerant to get you up off your butt and get you moving. But it may not be the end goal that's best for you. You may grow beyond that goal. Let's give an example of a girl that has an eating disorder. And that eating disorder makes it impossible. She's a young woman now, and she falls in love and gets married, and she continues on with this eating disorder, and quite severe. Let's say it's bulimia. I know of someone this happened to. Allowed themselves to become bulimic, quite thin. And in and out of treatment, but still was not able to get herself together. Then she decided she really would like a family. Well, the bulimia and being so thin made it impossible for her to conceive a child. But the desire to conceive a child became her accelerant so that she was able to really apply herself to whatever it was that they were sharing with her at the places that she was going for treatment. And it finally began to catch hold. Finally, she began to see her own worth. And that behavior stopped. She began to put on weight and was then able to conceive a healthy child. I think she now has 3 children. So was able to come from this place of, and maybe she was telling herself things like, I want to be a fashion model, and they have to weigh 2 pounds in order to, if you really want to be successful in the industry. And so the bulimia started as a way to stay thin so that she could be a fashion model. And then she decided, no, you know what? That doesn't even feel good to me. And here came the next accelerant. Now I have a desire to have a child. Well, that became the behavior that she needed. Excuse me. That became the desire that she needed in order to change her behavior so that she could be successful at feeling good about who she was. And then she was able to achieve her desire. Because remember, we have to be willing to participate in clearing the beliefs. We cannot ever be successful if we say to someone else, do it for me. I don't want to know how to do it. I don't want to know what I have to do. I don't want to even be present. I'm just going to ask you to do it for me. First of all, if you are always dependent on someone else, you will never be independent. And what if they're not available? It's a really bad choice to be completely dependent on another person. We all came, yes, as social beings so that we want healthy relationships, but we all came with the ability to be independent for our own self-growth. Others that we meet along the way will help us and guide us, but each person is responsible for their own thoughts and beliefs. You've got to look at those belief systems that are preventing you from achieving your desire and say, just like this woman did that wanted to conceive a child, if I continue to believe that I am bulimic and act in that way, I will never have this thing that I desire. If you want something and you don't have it, you're in the way. I guarantee you, it is not because your neighbor took all of bought out the store. It is because you're in the way. The dark night is a period of transformation when you move from not knowing or claiming responsibility to all knowing and completely responsible. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't suddenly wake up, oh my gosh, I get it, I'm completely responsible, and you feel like there's a weight of 1,000 worlds on your back. No, little by little, as you grow and become stronger, you recognize more and more of the truth of the universe of which you are a part, and you willingly and gladly take your place in that universe of responsibility. You begin running toward the problem so that you can become even stronger and wiser. Because now you recognize and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that when you run away from the darkness and you are filled with fear, your only outcome is going to be that you will become weaker and more vulnerable. Now, there are a lot of you on the call today, and this is a really intense subject. There's so much fear surrounding it. And I just want to know, star 2, is there anyone that is still feeling afraid to face something that might be a skeleton in your closet? Remember, this is not a time when you stand in front of a crowd and say, okay, everyone, look at me. I'm going to tell you all my deep, dark secrets. First of all, we don't know if you can trust those people with that very intimate knowledge. This is between you and the divine. This is facing your fears and letting go, knowing that you are safe and loved. Nancy?
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, honey. You got a question?
Yeah, sorry about the dog barking. I've been through a lot, and I want to think I'm next or close to the end, but I'm still having trouble identifying what issue I still have.
Okay. The best thing to do whenever you feel this intense confusion, you're right that it's definitely signaling, hey, there's something else that I need to look at. Just get as quiet as you can and drop down into the heart and just ask, please show me what I need to work on. And one thing that I've done, because when I'm in that state, and it can be either at the very beginning or at the very end or somewhere in the middle, it doesn't really indicate where you are on your journey, but it definitely indicates something that you want to get rid of. But what I have done is if I can feel myself really resisting or really getting anxious or tense about the answer because it's something that I want so badly, when I get that way, because I feel like I've just got to have this answer, I can feel myself really revving up, then I give the angels permission to deliver the answer to me over and over and over and over again until I get it. Then I say to them, please, make sure that I really get this answer. I am 100% committed. Use different means of communicating with me, but please don't stop sharing this with me until I have understood what it is and have begun working on it. Because otherwise, they'll send forth the answer immediately. If we're really tense or distracted, it'll go right by. And then weeks, days, months, years may go by where we're continuing on with this thing and we're still not sure what it is. We're still feeling a little frustrated, but maybe not that much. And, we'll get to it. I have just learned that for me, when it's something that I really am working on and committed to, if you don't have the commitment, you're not going to follow through anyway. So first get your commitment down pat, and then give them the opportunity to communicate with you in any way for as long and as often as they have to until you are able to really hear, see, feel, whatever way that works best for you, what it is that you need to be working on and have put in place a coping strategy for that, a way to really hunker down and get working on that. And I also ask them to help me with the solution. I have recognized that when I get myself tied up in these Gordian knots, I got there by myself, but I don't have to get out of it by myself. So I ask for divine help for everything. Does that help you?
It does.
Okay.
You're speaking to me because I keep getting told that I'm missing the signs, and I don't know what else I can do to see the signs. So you're just saying keep asking over and over?
Well, yes, except I'm so glad you brought that up, because here's something else that I always tell people. Please don't just keep asking and asking and asking and asking, because then you are telling yourself the story of, I'm not good enough to understand, or they don't want me to know the answer. Those two, one or the other of those could be playing out. I'm too stupid. They don't care about me, blah, blah, blah. Self-defeating talk. So what I want you to do is ask once. I need a sign from you, angels. Can you help me with this? Whomever you want to address in the energetic realm, we all work together as creators. So you can address any being that feels close to your heart. So whomever you want to address, angels, I need help with, tell them what you need help with. You ask once. Then, if you are looking around, pay attention, and you still don't feel that you are comfortable with the knowledge that you're receiving, now get into grateful acceptance. I am so grateful that you answered, but I need more information. Now you're telling yourself, hey, I'm so loved, they answered me right away, and this is the truth. And you're not going to have that other conversation, and I'm so stupid I didn't understand. If you do, squash that immediately. It's not true. So, I'm so grateful you answered, I need even more help. Or, I know you sent the sign, angels, I just didn't get it. Could you send it again, please? But first, make sure that you acknowledge that you were heard the very first time. Any other way, you're going to begin feeling like you're not loved. And you'll get yourself into a weird headspace. Or you'll start the dialogue, I knew it wouldn't work. That kind of thing. So ask once, and then grateful acceptance. But, hey, I need more. I know if there's a problem, I even say to them sometimes, if there's a problem, I know it's on my end and not yours. So I know you've already sent it, the sign, and I was out to lunch, didn't get it. Could you please send another sign? And I still didn't get it. Darn it, angels, I really need help again. I know you've already done this, but I still don't understand it. Get a dialogue going, but remember to listen, to pay attention. You can't just be talking at them all the time. There has to be quiet, reflective time so that you can hear and receive. Anything else, Nancy?
No, it's perfect. Thank you.
All right, honey. And that's all the time that we have for today. So, until next Wednesday, I'm sending you all my love.